Whoa. Banzai. Good morning, grinders, cobras, Miyagi toes, Miyagi fangs, eagle fangs, eagle deuce, and everybody else out there. Welcome to Monday. This is the AI workout, which I just typed in and said, write me a workout routine on the Tonal for men over 50. And this is what I came up with, except for it did have its own, warm up, not using the Tonal, and cool down, not using the Tonal, that I do my own thing for. So basically the same movements that I've been doing. We got squat, bench press, overhead press, which I had to kind of put that one in myself, the pull over, and bicep curl. I think there's one more. There's not very many, so. But anyway, this is what I'm doing. I am going to talk about Delphi again a little bit. I have to do something to change this up. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I got to keep it interesting for me too. So, and this Delphi case just has me fascinated. So, if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. If there's something else you'd rather have me talk about, let me know in the comments. Other than that, I'm going to get started. Banzai, no outro, bang! We'll see you next time. All right, so we're going to try this again because the first time I ran out of time. I sped it up because I didn't think I'd talk that long, and clearly I did. So anyway, here we go. We're doing this a second time, and I'm talking about the Delphi case and just the strangeness of it. So let's start at the very, very beginning. This happened on February 13th, 2017. It was a weekday, and oddly enough, the girls were out of school. It was for some teacher enrichment or something like that. It was a planned day. It was not a snow day. It was a planned day for school to be closed to students, but the teachers had stuff to do. So it was odd in that the kids were out of school in February on a weekday. Next odd thing is that it was unusually mild. I think it was in the 40s that day. Definitely warm enough that you could be outside and you could enjoy the trails. And I want to point that out, that it's not a park like a big city park with swings and a pond and geese and things like that. This park is really just trails that go through the woods, walking, running, jogging trails, that sort of thing. And it goes across what they call the High Bridge, which is aptly named because, let me tell you this, that bridge is very high, and it does not look like it's in the greatest of shape. And you cannot fully understand this until you have seen it in person. There are no guardrails. If you were to stumble and slip, you would be done for. Trust me. And it's not a solid plank all the way across. It's railroad ties. So there's gaps in between. And that brings up the third thing, and that's why law enforcement from the very beginning thought that it had to be a local, because bridge guy doesn't seem to have that much trouble going across the bridge. And trust me, your first time going across that thing you're going to be nervous. There's just no way around it. And that's why it had to have been someone who was familiar or had been on High Bridge before. So that's the third odd thing. The next odd thing is that, Libby recorded some of it. Now, we only get 3 or 4 seconds of that recording, and they've said there's nothing else much on there. I don't believe them. I think they have some more on that audio-video recording that probably gives them some idea. But we won't know that until it actually goes to trial. So the next very odd thing, 5 years go by, and they don't have a solid person of interest, at least that they let the public know of. Seems like the case is going nowhere. And remember, it's not just the Delphi County Sheriff, which is a small county. They don't have a lot of money, they don't have New York grizzled veterans on their force. They're local people who went into law enforcement. But the state police got involved and the FBI got involved. And there, you've got some money and you've got some experience. But still, 5 years goes by and nothing seems to happen. Now, that's not that uncommon in cases. A lot of them they have trouble solving for many years. But this one, you know, it's broad daylight. There is video and audio of who is presumed to be the perpetrator. And you got to think there was something at the scene. How they don't have DNA is beyond me. But it doesn't appear that they necessarily have any DNA. The next odd thing is, right now they're thinking it's one killer with two victims. How he was able to control them both and do what he did to them is a little mysterious, let's be honest. But that might come out later. So anyway, 5 years go by, then all of a sudden, right before an election, okay, could be suspicious, maybe it's just coincidence, but they serve a search warrant, search Richard Allen's house, and then the next day they arrest him and charge him with the murders. Although at first he wasn't charged with directly murdering, but responsible for their deaths. So that's an important distinction. He has since then been charged with their actual murders. And it doesn't stop there. Normally, you're innocent until proven guilty. But with Richard Allen, they decided, I don't know if he was a flight risk or for his own safety, that he couldn't be kept in the jail like every other person accused of a crime. Almost everybody, they go to the local jail until they can bail out. Richard Allen is put in an actual prison. And what's different about this is you can't see how he's being treated. I mean, both his sets of attorneys have claimed that he's being abused there. And I wouldn't doubt that. You can see he's lost a ton of weight in just the short time he's been in prison. And the prison is miles and miles away. It is inconvenient for his lawyers. That's the next weird thing. The judge unceremoniously removes his lawyers, puts two more on the case, which also say that he's being abused at the prison. He should be moved to a county jail. They get reinstated by the Supreme Court of the state, no less. The weirdness just never ends, because I haven't even gotten to the whole Odin stuff, and I'm about out of time. Because both sets of attorneys say that there are these followers of Odinism that are torturing Richard Allen and are most likely the perpetrators of this crime. On top of it, they did interview two people who follow this religion or whatever, and we've just found out that their interviews were accidentally recorded over. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand how you can accidentally record over digital recorders. I mean, if it's full, it tells you it's full, and you have to erase stuff to then be able to record over it. It's not like an old VCR tape or cassette tape. So that to me is extremely suspicious that they were recorded over. They weren't just deleted, supposedly. They were recorded over. Again, that seems really, really strange to me. But now the defense says, hey, you got to throw all this out because this is material. Some people are saying it's no big deal because those people are still around and can be interviewed again. But what you can't do is compare their original testimony to what they're saying now 5 years later. That is kind of a big deal. So you've got this weird cult. You've got people that were interviewed, supposed to be interviewed, but then they lost them. And one of them just happens to go to the same Mason Lodge as the prosecutor. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't pass the sniff test here. It's a very weird case. And I think that's about most of my time for today. I don't want to keep dragging this on and on. But in a nutshell, that gives you just how crazy this case has gone and why, you know, it's still gathering worldwide attention. I listened to a couple of podcast video shows from across the pond. They're both in the United Kingdom, and they seem to know a lot more than I do, and I live maybe a half hour away from it. So this thing is huge. I don't know where it's going to go. It just really bad. And then the Murder Sheet podcast, you know, I used to have a lot of respect for them. I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this stuff because they seem to the impression I get listening to them is they've already decided that Richard Allen's guilty, and they believe everything the prosecution says. Which, if you look at the original arrest affidavit, or the probable cause affidavit, their main piece of evidence was the ejected round, which, in my opinion, is pretty much junk science. It even says in the state police report, the expert says that while he finds it consistent, other experts will probably come to a different conclusion. That right there tells you that it's crap. Anyway, that's all I got. Bonsai. See you next time.